Welcome back to today's video. We're going to be playing Planet Coaster, and as you can see, we're back on Lakefront Adventures, and that bonus episode I was talking about, where we're going to be getting rid of a roller coaster and replacing it. We're going to be getting rid of our Intimate Impulse coaster, which was called Tidal Wave, and then also our teacups, what was called Tea Time. Over their signs I have just put coming next year, and then I also put a construction fence all around the entire area that we'll be getting worked on. But we're replacing it with a Premier Rides Skyrocket 3. And I do have this just lined up. So, as you can tell, I obviously don't have the layout set up yet. But what I'm going to have it do is I'm going to have it launch under the path. And then I'm going to try and go for a whole load of inversions in it. With a mixture of airtime built into it too. But I want to try and get the same amount or more inversions than our invert. And that is 4, so the goal is like 5 or 6, something like that. But it will help deal with, it will help balance out guests, because currently our invert's the only coaster in this park that inverts. So it'll deal with that, and then it will also give us a modern launch coaster. And also, since this would be getting pretty old by now, we obviously are going to just get rid of it. But I do want to keep maybe one of these spikes just to keep as like a landmark and tribute to it, because I know we aren't going to use this back half of the plot. So I want to try and keep this spike maybe. I probably will only really use this part just for maintenance area. And most of the layout will be over here in the old Tea Time plot. And pretty much just take up all this area. But we'll have a pretty big plot. I do also plan on having it go out over the water a bit, just to come back around to the station. But yeah, I'll get to work on everything, and then I'll meet back up with y'all after to show you the final products. I'll see you in a little bit. Alrighty, so I finished up the launch coaster. I do have a name for it, but that will go over a bit later. But I'm gonna just start from this maintenance area over here for it, and then work our way all the way across to the end of the coaster. So, pretty much just retrofit this into the area of the coaster, obviously. But, like I said, I did keep this one spike of the Impulse coaster. And so, realistically, this would have just been, pebbles all in here. But obviously, we can't do that because we don't got a pebble texture in the game. So, I just left the grass like it was. And they wouldn't have really done any effort into changing it. They just put don't-die fencing around it just to make it to where you couldn't go into it. And I figured just might as well continue the fencing that was already there. And then we did have this maintenance area here before, basically, but it was in a different form. The building that was for electronics and stuff for the Impulse Coaster was about where the transfer track is to about the station building. And it started about here. But now the new shed is a bit further back. We obviously got a transfer track, and this would just be a main shed like the one that we have for Riptide over here. And yeah, do got accesses around to the transfer track, but this obviously would be closed and locked up. And then the don't die fencing does stop here because it would be very unlikely for someone to go out swimming around it. And then I also have our boats. Their whole entire path was changed. It curves now around the coaster, and does have a very tight curve going into the station here, but we can't exactly move the station, so it'll just stay like that. But coming on down here, we have our transfer track. Our track here, how they would get trains out is that they would either use some sort of launch to boost the trains up, or they would just use a winch to pull them up the track here. And while this isn't seen a whole lot of modern coasters, most older aero coasters have this where their main buildings are below the station. So I'm pretty much just copying that. And then we just got a little drop because we need to make room for the cars to get down, and also for the building. So it's a pretty big drop, but it only gains a couple of miles an hour in terms of speed. And as you can see, it definitely is a fairly popular attraction here. But this station was a lot smaller than the Impulse station, so I did just leave the station building, but I did just bring our support columns down into the launch tunnel. And so then we got our coaster here, and as you can see, it obviously just dispatched, but just concreted off the bottom, kept the building fairly low because I wanted to stay similar to the Impulse coaster building. And so yeah, just pretty much just pushed it out. Then you go into the launch tunnel here. Just concrete this all out, and then just come launch out of here, which I will look at in a minute. But we have pretty much just simple ramp to exit, which we got an entrance for the ramp too. And I just did that just for handicap accessibility. And I just pretty much kept this whole entire area the same, except for now, instead of the tea time, or teacups being here, we have restrooms over here, and then obviously the whole coaster layout mostly takes up the whole area here. And then we also have this cut-through path, which is used fairly much by people. So it just allows people to cut through here, get over to this area of the park a lot quicker than how it was. But as you can see, the cars do come flying out of the tunnel here, and then they go into a Immelman, and then they just go down into a vertical loop, then a cutback, then they go into a 90-degree curve, a little airtime hill, another 90-degree curve, and the curve, I don't know what I'm saying, 180-degree curve, and then an airtime hill into a 90-degree curve, and then another airtime hill, then a double up, and then we hit the final brake run. But like I said, Premier Rides launch coaster. I wanted to keep the foliage very low on this, just because this would be brand new to the park. So like over here, they would just have some bushes planted just to hide up the maintenance area, but kept it very low, just like they were growing in. And I did that for also pretty much all throughout the layout. It's pretty much just some rocks that they would have brought in, and then in some places they do have some flowers, but those would grow fairly quickly. We also have our miniature culvers, which these are just like little tree saplings that would obviously grow up as time passes. And also for when it's over the water, I just put in the footers to where they're above the water, because obviously you can't have steel in water, otherwise it will not exactly end well. But I got that all done, and I think that's pretty much it. But this will be the last episode of Lakefront Adventures. I won't do an air tour. And before I forget, our name for this coaster, which I did just reuse the sign for the Impulse coaster, is called Wave Rider. And I just got that because it goes over the water for a lot of the layout. But as I was saying, this is the last episode of Lakefront Adventures. I do hope you've enjoyed the entire series, and I do hope to see you in Planet Coaster 2, and maybe some one-off episodes or videos that I do on Planet Coaster in between now and Planet Coaster 2's release. But do hope you've enjoyed. If you have, make sure to like and subscribe. I do hope you've enjoyed the series, and let's go for a ride. See ya in the next one.